All right, we are in progress. Very happy to be here with Eddie Vigil the fifth. The film is Sojourn. Eddie, filmmaker, writer, director, he co-wrote, co-directed Sojourn. Would you like to intro yourself or the film storyline narrative in any way? It's optional.
Yeah, I could do a little bit. Yeah, Sojourn was a film that I co-directed alongside, yeah, co-wrote and co-directed this film with Jamie Keener, who's been a co-writer and collaborator with me for a couple of years now. And this was a big, proof of concept short film for a larger story that we hope to tell sometime. But it's yeah, it's this feels like a unique situation because this short film isn't public. So this is
Mm,
something that I'm trying to, feel out on like, all right, well, let's not spoil too much, but there's lots to talk about here. So
yeah.
but yeah, it centers around a young woman who is kind of like processing through grief. She's just lost both of the father figures in her life, and she's really trying to kind of find a way to learn to live for herself instead of for others. And that's the journey of the short film, is how do I say no to doing something for somebody else and say yes to living for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's, something I think all of us can relate to as part of our adulting process. I don't think there's too many people that sort of have had the kind of lucky opportunity or the character just by nature to be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, this is my dream focus. Boom, I'm going after it. And I'm not, inundated by other things that may blind or detract me from that. It's a very, thoughtful, super thoughtful movie. It addresses a lot of our cultural constructs. Power is a huge theme, sexuality is a huge theme, using bartering sexuality with power is, a huge theme, and trusting yourself, and then honoring your own sense of integrity and compromising your own integrity. We have a character who's really compromises herself, and betrays, somebody, and she's manipulated, and these forces have kind of how these forces have in her life have come together to put her where she is, and how she's trying to deal with them. And all of us face these, you know kind of scenarios where, okay, well, we can tell a white lie and be maybe a little more secure, or feel like we're a little more secure, or we can be honest and feel insecure in the moment.
Yeah.
And what's that trade-off, and how does that really affect our lives? And it's in that way, it's a Shakespearean, I was thinking about it this morning after watching the film last night, like it's a very epic Shakespearean kind of like drama and the characters. And it's a great, I really enjoyed the depth of the questions that it's posing, and the answers that it's providing. So that said, first question, to play it forward, where was that germinal seed in you to tackle something as deep and heavy as this?
Um, I know for me, this is I guess this is a fun experiment on my side, because this was a story that kind of like I had just got done, directing my sophomore effort of a feature film, and I was excited to find out like what's the next thing here? What do we want to do next? And I know I've been craving a little bit more of playing in that dramatic realm and playing with. I know I battle tackling and sharpening the comedic skills, but then I also, there's something that really draws me to the heavy and like let's like when I go to a movie, like I want to cry. It feels good to feel those things, and just to be put in these crazy positions and really empathize with these characters on the screen. So when this story was actually one that was pitched to me as a potential collaboration. So yeah, the initial pitch was, hey, because this is like an embellished story, but this is based off of, you know, a real person's life. So that really helped root my thoughts on how we're going to tackle this. Is okay, this is real, that these are themes that are actually happening and have happened. And being that there's a personal connection into this story, um I don't know, there's something about trying to showcase for the world the different aspects on how people come into your life, because this story focuses mostly on the father figure side. So she has her biological father, who in our story is suffering. Actually, suffering is not the right word. He is battling through Parkinson's, and he's not in the best shape. And then we have a father-in-law that comes into the picture with immense wealth, and she's a middle-class family. And he's able to provide her with, you know, the life that she can't have with her current father. And then we have a therapist role too, who's also an older gentleman who comes into the picture to help comfort and help her process through things. So we're trying to showcase just the positives and negatives of relationships, and how some could help and some could hurt. And I don't know, for me, it's just I don't know if there's anything specific in there, but those are plenty of reasons for, like, I just wanted, yeah, I wanted to get deep, and I wanted to go to those depths, and try to tell something real, because I normally dive into, I try to have it light and humorous, and this was the opportunity to say some real things, and I felt like, yeah, I learned a lot through this process for sure.
That's awesome, Eddie. I mean, you did it. You know, it's a deep, heavy movie, and it is, you know, it can be difficult to watch. And I love, you know, what you said about, like, I want to cry, you know, and you want your humanity to be touched and felt and resonated and compelled. And, you know, I do too. You know, I totally, you know, resonate with art on that level. I mean, you know, it's great to be entertained. Entertainment's wonderful. And if you can entertain and, you know, connect on that foundational level of our humanity, whoa, that's, you know, that's teaching me how to fish and feeding me, you know. And so I just really appreciate you having the courage to go there, for sure. Um, and it segues nicely, you know. So I think ultimately, you know, your answer to that question is that you just wanted to go to a bigger and tackle a more, you know, holistic artistic experience. And this was an opportunity to do so, and you resonated with the relational dynamics of it. Um, and you know, it leads us to the second question: is this is as a viewer? I mean, you can address it as a creator as well, but I try to take the pressure off um, filmmakers and artists to feel like, you know, um, they might be analyzing their own films, which I don't see any problem with, because you're not telling me what to think. But, you know, putting yourself in the role of analyzing your own film, either as a viewer or writer or whatever you like, um, what do you see the message of it?
Well, I hope that the takeaway, I think I kind of mentioned a little bit of that kernel before, but
You did.
at the end of the day, it's about, why am I doing the things in my life, like in our story, I guess, like, as examples, you know, let's you know, she attends a college she doesn't want to go to, because she sees how happy it makes her parents, you know, like, it's like staying in state, versus she wants to see the world, and she wants to grow, and she wants to get out of the box, and experience some new things. But because of her father's condition, like you can tell that they want to still have her around. And at some point, there's an opportunity for them to showcase that for her. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're staying. Oh, great news, great news. You got accepted. And she's like, how can I take that away from my parents? Because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have my father. So she decides to stay and go to a college she doesn't want to. So, and then, it escalates multiple levels from there. But at the end of the day, yeah, having some reflection time on like, yeah, I have, for myself, let's say there are decisions in life where it's like I could have done different things for myself for bettering of me, but I took the back seat and I was living for others in some form or another. And let's really think about those moments and see if we can do better moving forward. How do we balance that? And when do I put myself first? When do I do stuff for others? It's so complicated and tricky, but that's essentially the message.
I think
Ooh.
that's awesome. Well done, well done. Because I know you're stepping on dangerous ground, and it's like, well, I just made a movie to, say all that. So how am I supposed to summarize it? But I think it's awesome that you do because it gives us something to talk about. And it's one of those things is, growing up and adulting, I said the word earlier, it's like, we were raised as children and we're raised to kind of follow rules and follow authority. And at what point do we, become independent? And we oftentimes as, are become people pleasers. We want to keep the peace. We want to please our parents, please, whatever teachers make people happy, especially people that we love who are dying. Right. And so, but that can create a slippery slope, which it seems to do in this character, right? To compromise her own morality. And how do we, like you said, keep that balance between doing what's right for ourselves and not being selfish? What's the difference there? And I think that's often the confusing part, right? It's like, well, when are we being selfish and when are we doing what's right for ourselves? And I think that's a great distinction that you help point out.
Yeah, and then for her, I guess the clarification is has no she she's got to swing the pendulum back the other direction. So it's like we just need to learn how to say no is step one. So that's essentially the core lesson here in this short is
Yeah,
start with that.
yeah, creating boundaries.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and I think ultimately the realization becomes, well, when we do things that are motivated by what is right for ourselves, what's best for ourselves, what's taking care of ourselves versus selfishness, then that ends up being what's better for everybody in the long run. You know,
Yeah.
Eddie, last question. Since making this film, how have you been changed as a person?
Um, okay. Yes. I know for me, 'cause I like to think about for some reason I go more so toward like the craft first. But I know for me, like on the behind the scenes front of like making the short, what I learned going through that process, like this was the first film that I had any sort of decent budget to really play with on. Um, yeah, this short film, like the edit that you watched came out to, it's a 19-minute short film. We're also playing with a shorter version too for festival submissions and stuff, but I'm very happy with the 19-minute. And we had a $50,000 budget to make that happen. And normally I make movies for like under $20,000. So I'm like, I made movies for less. How do I now I have like more to make a shorter thing? This is really cool. And so having money to play with changed a lot of aspects and really made things really weird in different ways. But the main thing that I took away, story wise, was this was a project that Jamie and I spent developing in the writing process for close to almost like a year, I would say, just for the short film. Like we spent 6 months on this script because we had this plethora of a story to tell that we had a feature ready to go, and then how to condense that into a short. So we knew the characters inside and out, we knew the themes we wanted to hit, and we knew all of the little details of like we jumped through time in our short film here too. So we know all the moments that happened between this and the flash forward. We know the whole history, so we can really inject a lot into these characters and give a lot to the actors to play. And it was different for me because I'm normally like, draft one, draft two of a feature, let's make this thing. But spending that time really changed everything on this. Like the cast and the crew had bought into these themes and bought into these characters and loved the world, and were giving like their all to make this project, and they felt like it was very worthwhile, and that they were doing some good for, it was very therapeutic for a lot of them too. Like they had all had experiences that resonated with them via the script, and it was just awesome to see like, oh, that's right, like putting time into the script and developing the story actually helps everybody and makes the product better. And I felt more confident on set. I felt like I knew more than ever before on what we're tackling. So the little lesson on what changed me is like, okay, let's I loved going deep. I loved having these big messages, and I loved having that chance to relate to the crew members and the cast members in this other level. And I want to keep doing that. That's for sure.
Cool. Do you think, aside from craft, that the themes and that the accomplishment of making the movie has changed your outlook and your actions in any way?
I know this year has been a big year for me jumping. The name of the lead character is Elena. So I feel like I've had to do a lot of reflecting on my own self to jump back into her shoes. I'm like, all right, let's start from scratch here. Where are my boundaries? Where are all this? So that's been it's been quite a year for sure.
Cool.
This was beginning of that for sure.
That sounds great. Eddie Vigil V, filmmaker, co-writer, co-director on Sojourn, writer-director. Thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks again. Yeah.
A pleasure. All right, everybody, play it forward. Peace out. Till next time.